Right, everyone. So I wanted to do a video on DayZ, specifically why early game and mid game are the very best parts of it. So let's get started. You spawn in and you've got nothing, essentially. So what you'll be doing at this part, in the early game, you'll just be looting whatever you can, just to get anything. This is also the part where you get your bearings, and if you're playing with friends, you try and meet up with them. This is one of the best parts because there are endless possibilities. Whatever you do, because you've got nothing to start with, it'll likely not be a waste of time because you'll get something that'll help. This freedom of this massive map is fantastic. Whilst it can be daunting for newer players, once you've got a bit of experience, it's just so enjoyable because you never know what you're going to start with and how good or bad it'll be. The only thing that drags the start of the game down is the fact that once you spawn, you'll likely just be scrambling for food and water. But besides that, it's fantastic, and why it's probably the second best part of the game, for me at least. Middle game, you've found some loot, found some food and water, maybe a gun or two, and if you're playing with friends, you've likely met up with them. And this will be the peak of your DayZ experience. Remember when I was saying about the openness of the early game and why that was fantastic? Well, that is just tenfold now, because now with the equipment you have, you can go essentially anywhere without being afraid, because if you die, it don't matter, because you've not really got much to lose, but you're also not afraid of dying because you've got adequate supplies to defend yourself. Now for the next few hours you'll likely have the most fun than any other part of the game. Your opportunities are limitless, and whether you're solo or with a friend, no matter what, you're essentially guaranteed to have fun. Now late game you've likely got a lot of high level gear and you've been to a lot of high level areas to get it. You've also probably built a base. Now this will likely keep you content for another good few hours, but eventually that starts to slow down. This is because there's simply not much left to do. There's only so good your loot can get, and so big your base can be, before there's not anything left to do to improve it. You hit a wall, essentially, and this is where the boredom starts to kick in. Not to mention that if you're anything like me at least, all this high level gear just makes you more nervous and more afraid to walk around, because even though you're more likely to win fights, if you die, you've got a lot more to lose than if you were to die in mid game or early game, for example. And this combined, at least in my opinion, makes the end game, ironically, the least enjoyable part of DayZ. Less enjoyable than even the early game. So, to sum it all up, essentially, the early game and mid game of DayZ are by far the best, because you've got so much freedom that you can do whatever you want without any fear, really, because you've got nothing to lose. Comparatively, the end game is the weakest, because it's the opposite. Whilst you're just as free to do whatever in theory, you won't want to, because you've got so much more to lose. You're far more hesitant and far more nervous. Not only that, but because you didn't have much to lose earlier on, you could play however you wanted, really. If you wanted to play cautiously, you could, but if you wanted to play more aggressively and run around and more carefree, you also could. You can't really do that in endgame, because you want to be so conservative with everything you've found, because it took you a lot of effort to get, that you're forced into playing really carefully and really slowly, which some people just might not enjoy. So, if it gets to the point where you're in endgame and you're just not having as much fun anymore, don't be afraid to just restart from the beginning. You'll have so much more fun, trust me. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.